Critical thinking is an important skill for all learners to develop. Critical thinking relates to how we think about our own beliefs and knowledge. But this kind of thinking isn't necessarily human nature. Left unchecked, human thinking can easily be biased, which means to favor someone or something over others. For instance, a soccer fan may favor a particular player. Distorted, which means to change something in a way that makes it untrue. The soccer fan may have a distorted view of the player that he idolizes. Partial, which means incomplete, to not consider all the information about something. In this instance, the soccer fan thinks the referee is unfair in awarding a red card, but he has not considered all the information. The ref is obviously very strict. Uninformed, which means to make up your mind about something without knowing all the facts. Our soccer fan believes that his favorite player is the best striker ever, without checking all the facts. Prejudiced, which means to have a liking or disliking for something for no real reason. The soccer fan is prejudiced against player A. He will not acknowledge what a great player he is. Since the invention of social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, it is easier than ever to influence people's thinking, which is why it is so important to develop critical thinking skills. It is important to remember that anyone can make a post to share their opinion or understanding of something, whether it is true or not. This can lead to misinformation, the accidental sharing of information that is incorrect or untrue. It is even more important to be aware that different groups, organizations, or even governments can post false information in a manner intended to influence our thinking. This results in disinformation, the deliberate sharing of false information in order to manipulate thinking. The COVID-19 pandemic was a prime example of the sharing of false information. The World Health Organization even released a misinformation management guide about the COVID-19 vaccine. In this guide, the Director General of the World Health Organization is quoted as saying, "We're not just fighting an epidemic, we're fighting an infodemic. Fake news spreads faster and more easily than this virus and is just as dangerous." Let's see how two neighbors, Julia and Xoleswa, reacted to social media at the start of the pandemic. Julia has always been a passive recipient of information. She genuinely believes what she sees and reads without questioning it. Xoleswa is a critical thinker who works against the manipulation of her thinking. She also actively avoids misinformation by questioning what she sees and reads. Julia and Xoleswa both read a few posts and articles claiming that drinking warm water every 15 minutes would protect them from COVID. Julia accepted this as the truth. She started drinking warm water every 15 minutes, but made no other changes to her behaviors. At first, Xoleswa thought that drinking warm water may possibly prevent the virus. She also thought that it could do no harm, so she started drinking the water. But unlike Julia, Xoleswa did not stop there. She read and watched many items about COVID, from many different sources. She gathered as much data and evidence as she could find about the virus. As Xoleswa read and watched items about COVID, she asked herself questions like,
where does this information come from? Why should I believe this? How does this add to what I already know?
Critical thinkers use data and evidence to support their beliefs. They gather lots of evidence and try to consider multiple perspectives. They question the source of the information, and they work hard to try and see the full picture. As she read and watched items about the virus, Xoleswa used logic and reasoning to make decisions. She had thoughts like,
I need to gather more evidence to find out if this information is true or false. This seems like one extreme perspective. I need more information before reaching a conclusion. I have seen this from many credible sources. This seems to be true.
As she learned more about COVID, Xoleswa questioned her existing beliefs and knowledge.
COVID is getting really scary. So many people are ill and dying. I have realized that drinking warm water does not keep me safe.
Xoliswa changed her approach to staying safe based on all the new data and information she had engaged with.
From now on, I will stay home as much as possible and I will always wear a face mask when I have to go out.
Critical thinkers consistently examine their own beliefs and knowledge. They practice questioning their ideas and assumptions, rather than accepting them at face value. Importantly, critical thinkers don't get attached to one way of thinking. They are open to changing what they think based on new data. A last important thought about the need for critical thinking comes from Daniel Kahneman, a Princeton professor and Nobel Memorial Prize winner. He said, "A reliable way to make people believe falsehoods is frequent repetition, because familiarity is not easily distinguishable from the truth."
Go aga bokgoni bja go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego go baithuti go thuša go lemoga go lebelela dilo ka letlhakore tee le tshedimošo yeo e fošagetšego, go tšea diphetho tšeo di kwagalago le go šomiša bohlatse go tšweletša dikgopolo tša bona. Mo nakong ye ya tšhomišo e kgolo ya inthanete le meela e fapanego ya technology, re kopana le tshedimošo e ntši yeo e fošagetšego tšatši ka tšatši. Go bohlokwa kudu gore baithuti ba botšišiše ka mo go tseneletšego ka tshedimošo yeo ba e humanago. Gape ba swanetše go botšiša gore tshedimošo ye e tšwa kae le gore ke ka lebaka la eng e swanetše go kgolwa. Go thuša baithuti go tšweletša bokgoni bja go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego go bohlokwa kudu ebile go lokišetša baithuti gore e be badudi ba matlhatlha. Go bohlokwa go lemoga gore go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego ga go tle ka tlhago. Barutiši ba swanetše go tlhotlheletša le go aga kgahlego go baithuti gore ba botšišiše ka lefase leo le ba dikologilego. Barutiši ba swanetše go thuša go aga bokgoni bja go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego go tloga bana e sale ba banyenyane. Re thuša bjang baithuti ba banyenyane go aga bokgoni bja go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego? Re thuša baithuti go aga bokgoni bja go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego ka go ba laetša mahlakore ao a fapanego a ditaba, go naganišiša dilo gabotse le go botšišiša gore tshedimošo ye e tšwa kae.
Critical thinkers consider different perspectives. It is tempting for people to stick to one way of thinking and even to become defensive about it. But critical thinkers don't fall into that trap. Critical thinkers carefully consider a variety of different perspectives before coming to conclusions. Let's see how teacher Naledi helps her grade 1 learners to consider different perspectives.
I know it is so important to help my young learners understand that the world is a big place, filled with many different ways of living. Bonjour, hola, habari, sanbonani, molweni, namaste, salam, ahlan, sawadi, konnichiwa, privyet, ni hao. This helps prepare them to consider many different perspectives. I make sure to read my learners stories that show them an array of cultures, beliefs, and characters. This helps to expose my learners to our big, diverse world and to expand their thinking. It also helps my learners understand that there are many different ways of thinking in the world.
Let's see how teacher Maputi Molaudi exposes her learners to a different culture and beliefs through storytelling.
Gale kwa gole batho ba Aztec kwa Mexico ba be ba dula ba dikologile ke dithaba tše di gologolo le di tseba dithaba dimpa tša bona di be di phela di tletše eupša ba be ba sa kgotsofale ba ganyoga lefela eupša le be le iphitlhile ka morago ga dithaba gole mo batho ba go ba ka se kgone go fitlhelela sa mathomo baruti ba ile ba gopela Tlaloc modimo wa pula ra mo gopola kere tlalo ke yo matla batho ba rena ba ganyoga lefela re khoshi eupša ga se ra kgotsofala wa ba go latela baruti ba ile ba gopela Tonatia modimo wa letšatši ka gopelo Tonatia yo matla batho ba rena ba ganyoga lefela re khoshi eupša ga se ra kgotsofala re thuše hle re thuše ba gopela gore ba leba go tlalthetšutli modimogadi wa lefase ka gopelo tlalthetšutli yo matla batho ba rena ba ganyoga lefela re khoši eupša ga se ra kgotsofala re thuše hle Kgokong
Mama ka tšaba stagon bana medingane nna la mote
o tseba o moteng ngwanaka a kere batho ba go fapafapana mo lefaseng ba na le medimo ya go fapafapana kere.
Let's see how teacher Maramele Masha uses creative storytelling to teach her learners about different perspectives.
Thuto ye re thušang gore bana ba naganišiše ka mo go tseneletšego ke thuto ya kanegelo ya boitlhamelo. Ge re ithuta ka kanegelo ya boitlhamelo bana ba ka lebelela seswantšho se se tee e fela ba tla ka dikanegelo tša go fapana go tšwa seswantšhong se se tee.
Maria le Angie ba nyaka go dlala kgati ba re a ba se kgone dlala kgati tšhomi ya bone tsamaya ka wheelchair tšhomi ya bona a re ke tlo kgona ba re jang a tsamaya ko le bontšhang nna ko tshwara ka ntle le rata tshwara ka ntle re dlale kgati Sina le re rato le Angie ba fofa kgati Karabo are roishaneng kgati Karabo are ba yo go ya go le shayaka ba yo go le shayaka moelo and then yo ba palela sale ba banya ka ba botsa ka are daleng engwe namblane bar kamelo a tshware ka mo Karabo a tshware ka mo re fofe ka mo.
Another way that teacher Maramele Masha helps her learners consider different perspectives is by asking them open-ended questions about a story. This shows that there can be more than one correct answer.
Tamukanelo mma wa byakeri. Tamukanelo mma o reka ditamati. Tamukanelo mma o ja tamati.
Critical thinkers use logic and reason. They know why they think certain things and can explain how they have come to certain conclusions. Critical thinkers make decisions and judgments that are supported by logic and reason. Learners need to know that in order to make good decisions, they shouldn't jump to conclusions. They should consider evidence and facts in their thinking. Let's see how teacher Naledi helps her learners build their logic and reasoning by asking them lots of how and why questions. She questions how learners arrive at certain conclusions and whether their assumptions are correct.
How do you know this? Why do you say that?
Even though it can be tiring, teacher Naledi encourages her learners to ask questions. Anytime they ask her a how or why question, she patiently gives them an answer that makes sense to them.
Time to go inside.
Teacher, why can't we stay outside and play?
Because the bell has rung. It is time for maths.
Let's see what building logic and reasoning through questioning looks like in a grade 1 classroom.
Kanegelo ya rena e bolela ka Wade o apea Kerry. Aga a re ko Sam?
Ke bona Wade a ja Kerry.
Very good. Sam, o tseba jwang gore ke Wade?
Lina la kanana Wade o ja Kerry.
Aha. Ke ka lebaka la eng o nagana gore o ja Kerry?
Kanela ke ka Wade a dira Kerry.
Aha.
Teacher Maramele Masha also helps her learners to develop their logic and reasoning by identifying and solving problems in the big book stories.
Hlogo ya kanegelo ya rena e re Wade o apea Carrie. Jwale ke tlo lebalela mafoko a ka mo namile lena la nthieletša kere. Wade o be a hloile ditamati ka mešogo fela. Nka se tsoge ke jele ditamati. O ile a goeletša ge mmagwe a ntšha thini ya ditamati mo rakeng a e lokela ka karikaneng ya go reka. Re kwele gore go na le bothata ko gore mma o reka ditamati, Wade ga rate ditamati akere. Jwale ke nyaka go tseba gore bothata bo ro bo rarolla jwang. A re kwe se Lerato?
Nnete santse a je ditamati and then maya santse a mokana.
Aha. O swanetše go ja ditamati akere. Jwale ya bobedi o nagana gore re ka e rarolla ka borarolla jwa bothata bo. Aga re botše
A tshwanela go reka ditamati.
very good my boy. Ditamati ga di nyakege ka baka la gore Wade ga je ditamati akere. Ra e cancela akere. Ma ga a swanela go reka ditamati. Wena o nagana gore ya ga go tharollo e ka ba ngwana kwa?
Ma tlhakantšhe ditamati ka mo dijong tse dingwe.
Aga. Mma o tla swanela ko tlhakantšha ditamati le dijo tše dingwe. Mma a hlakanye ditamati le dijo tše dingwe. Re bone ditharollo ke tše tharo di a fapana kere. Jwale re ya go vouta gone jwale re ya go lebelela gore ke ba bakae ba ba reng tharollo e swanetše go ba gore Wade a je ditamati. 12 le 13. Aga a iša matsogo fase ke ba le 13 akere. Ba ba reng mma ga swanela gore ka ditamati a ba imiša matsogo. 5 ke ba 5. Ga re lebelele ya boraro tharollo mma a hlakanye ditamati le dijo tše dingwe. 2 3 4 ke ba 4 akere.
Another way that teacher Naledi helps her learners to develop logic and reasoning is by building their understanding of cause and effect.
If the cause is that it started to rain, then effects could be that I got wet, there were big puddles, and I needed rain boots.
When we read stories, we think about decisions characters make and discuss the impacts of those decisions. This helps learners build their understanding of cause and effect.
We are now finished reading the story titled Wade Makes Curry. Why did Wade's mom ask him to help make the curry? What happened when she did this?
I think Wade's mum was so clever. She knew that Wade hated tomatoes but loved curry. I think she wanted him to know that there were tomatoes inside the curry.
Yes, an effect of Wade making the curry is that he learned that there are tomatoes in the curry. Why do you think she wanted him to know that tomatoes were an ingredient in the curry?
I think it was because she thought it might change his feelings about tomatoes.
And did Wade change his feelings about tomatoes?
Yes, at the end he says, maybe I don't hate tomatoes after all.
Great job, Maputi. You are using your critical thinking skills.
Critical thinkers question sources. Children need to learn to question where certain information comes from. They also need to develop skills for determining which information is worth paying attention to. This means learners should ask questions like,
where did this information come from? Why should I believe it?
Let's see how Teacher Naledi helps her learners to question sources by teaching them the difference between fact and opinion.
A fact is a statement that is proved to be true. An opinion is an expression of someone's feelings. This is a difficult skill that takes a lot of practice. I try to build it into my teaching whenever I can.
Now let's see what questioning sources and distinguishing between fact or opinion looks like in a grade 1 classroom.
Aga Sam, re botsa ngwanaka.
Di koro di tswalla. Ke ne ke tswile diso. E feta maloma ka re ke lumile ke ditshitshidi.
Aowa wena. Anamile re lumile ke ditshitshidi. Namile go a direga eng?
E feta nkisa tleliniki. E feta doctor chicken pox.
A rone le chicken pox. Malumo re lumile ke ditshitshidi. Ngaka e rone le chicken pox. A le ngwanaka o dumela mo go mang mo go ba babedi ba?
Ke nak.
Ka lebaka la eng?
Ka re ke tswa sekolong sa go bona.
Oh, ka baka la gore ngaka o tswa sekolong sa go ba ngaka kere? Aga, le nna ngwanaka nka dumellana le wena bongaka ba bolela dintlha tše ileng gore ba di tseba kere? Ba tswa sekolong sa bongaka, malome ke mechanic o ba bolela ka kgopolo ya gage ka tšeo a bega di bona mmeleng wa gagwe kere? Aga.
Teacher Naledi also develops her learners' critical thinking skills by teaching them research skills. As she does this, she shows them how to question the sources and to consider different perspectives.
I encourage my learners to be accurate. In my classroom, I tell learners that if we aren't sure about something, we can do research to find out more information. This also means I admit when I don't know something. I tell learners my plan to find out more information. Learners need to learn that even their teacher can be wrong, so they learn to question everything.
How far is the moon? How long would it take to get there?
That is a good question, Khotatso. I don't know the answer. Let's use Google together to see if we can find out.
Teacher Naledi does her best to develop her learners' research skills. She reminds them that they must be careful about what they read on the internet. She teaches them to try and use reputable sources, and she reminds them to check the information across multiple sources.
The first search result says that the moon is an average of 384,400 kilometers from Earth. Let's check that with another source to make sure. This article comes from NASA. NASA is known for their knowledge about space. This article says the same thing, 384,400 kilometers. This website also gives us more useful information. It tells us that this distance is the same as 30 Earths.
Teacher Naledi also helps her learners to question information by helping them understand the need for evidence to back up an argument. She makes her learners practice giving evidence to explain why they believe certain things.
I think that Joyce is creative.
Why do you say that?
Because she sees that people need masks, and she makes them herself, and she makes them out of beautiful fabrics.
All of these skills help my learners build the skills to ask and answer the questions.
Where did this information come from? Why should I believe it? Do I need more information to prove this?
gore o kgona go ruta bokgoni bja go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego le wena o swanetše go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego le ka bokgoni bja gago bja go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego ka go botšiša ka dingwalwa tšeo o di balago a re bone gore morutiši Naledi o dira se bjang ge a bala le go ithuta ka leuba la COVID.
Critical thinkers investigate the source.
This article says that the side effects of the second vaccine can be stronger than the first. I wonder if the Times of India is a reputable news source. I will need to do some research before I read this article.
Critical thinkers use well-known sources.
Here is an article that debunks the COVID-19 vaccine myths. I know News 24 is a reputable news source. Their information is likely to be factual.
Critical thinkers are wary of blog posts.
Wow, this says that science journals are spreading disinformation. Oh, this is just a blog post. Anyone could have written this. I should be very wary of believing the information I see here.
Critical thinkers are wary of friends' posts.
Oh wow, this video says that when we get a flu injection, they are actually injecting us with coronavirus. Oh, this is a YouTube video. This information seems very suspicious. I shouldn't believe this just because my friend posted it.
Go aga bokgoni bja gagwe ba go nagana ka mo go tseneletšego go botlhokwa le boitlwaetšo bo tloga bo le botlhokwa kudu gore o kgone go botšišiša ditumelo tša gago le dilo tšeo o di tsebago.
Do you think it's important to develop learners' critical thinking skills?
Ba kgona go naganišiša go tšweletša dikgopolo tšeo di fapanego.
What else do you do to build critical thinking skills?
Ka mehla ke ruta bana ba ka phapano magareng ga dintlha le dikgopolo.
Let's recap the main points we have covered. Critical thinking has to do with how we think about our beliefs and knowledge. It is important to build critical thinking by helping young learners to consider different perspectives, use reason and logic, and question sources of information. In the classroom, teachers can help young learners by reading complex stories that have diverse characters, settings, and themes, encouraging learners to value other people's perspectives, beliefs, and ideas, encouraging how and why questions, teaching cause and effect, helping learners distinguish facts from opinions, modeling how to do research when you don't have all the information, and showing learners how to back up arguments with evidence.